MacArthur's legs. Garcia is there. The Royals take the series with a 2-out, 5-run rally in the bottom of the 8th.
All right, the Royals getting the win there. I forgot to hit a certain button, and that messed me up there. Royals do get the victory there yesterday, 5-1 with that 5-run inning, as you just heard. And welcome in to the Sports Ticket on Katy Country 94, as we do have our intern, Matthew Rice, with us today again as well. Royals picking up the win. We'll talk about the NBA draft coming up and also go over some other moves that are happening in the NBA. But before we do that, I want to tell you about a local athlete that's competing here tonight in the U.S. Olympic team trials at Eugene, Oregon. They're Tracktown, USA, after gaining All-American status in the NCAA Division I championships earlier this month in Oregon. Brady Pullen, the Beloit native and St. John's grad of Wichita State, will be competing here this evening in the high jump. Again, he was a All-American in both indoor and outdoor this year in track and field with the high jump. And here's how it's going to work. There's 24 total jumpers, and they will tonight narrow that down to 12 athletes that will compete and come back on Sunday for the finals. The mark that you have to get to qualify for the Olympics, no matter if you place first or last, wherever you place, the mark you need to qualify for the Olympics is 7.7 3/4. That'll get you to Paris if you are put in the right spot in qualifying and finish the right way. But if you're under 7.7 3/4, you're not going to Paris. So that's pretty wild to me. And just to think about how high you got to jump to do that, that would be, again, an amazing PR. Brady Pullen could accomplish that. But like we said the other day, this is an opportunity that doesn't come along a lot for kids of his caliber and this size of town that he grew up in and size of the school, obviously, that he went to. And he's got an opportunity to have an experience that he's worked his butt off to earn. I can promise you that. Competition begins at 7 o'clock tonight. Fans should be able to watch it on the USA Network app for individual events. NBC's airing the whole thing, but they usually focus on the running events and kind of stay away from the field events, which is a lot like what you see at the state track and field championships on their TV their coverage of state track. And I know there's a lot of different places that you got to go. That state track down at Cessna Stadium in Wichita, because there's different places where they're throwing and jumping and all that stuff. But they pretty well focus just on the track events, especially on that Saturday, because everybody's going back to back from 6A all the way down to 1A. So, and it's probably the same thing, obviously, in Eugene at this meet. This is more spread out because it's over 6 or 7 days, so they can spread everything out and at least have an opportunity to single out more athletes in sports in their coverage. But it'll be interesting to see how Brady fares tonight against 7 o'clock. Brady Pullen, also Devin Loudermilk, who is from Howard West Elk and down in southern Kansas. He's from KU. He'll compete tonight as well, and so will Tyus Wilson of Sterling, who's at Nebraska. 3 small-town Kansas kids putting Kansas on the map, and it was awesome to see during the NCAA Division I championships, and it's awesome to see here at the Olympic level, or Olympic trial level, and then we'll see if any of them can get to London. So it's cool to see things big happen for people that you know, people that you grew up knowing, or that you knew as they were growing up. In my case with Brady, right? Mm-hmm. Man, Brady, he put in just a ton of work in high school to get himself to be able to get a scholarship to go do high jump at Wichita State, and that's just continued at Wichita State. And you can never doubt the success that he has, because he's put the work into it to have that success. So we're proud of Brady. I am, friends with the family, and it's just awesome to see somebody like that go out and do big things. Matthew, do you know anybody that's gone on to do big things like that? Have you ever come across anybody that's done that? Who's the most famous person from your hometown?
Well, I live in Smith Center right now. That'd be Mitch Holthaus.
Yeah.
Just from the Chiefs.
Right now it would be, yeah.
My mom lived down in Georgia for 2 years, and the town we lived in was the hometown of the guy who caught the game-winning, Super Bowl-winning touchdown pass from Patrick Mahomes, McCall Hardman.
There you go.
So that's kind of cool. Never met him.
Never.
I was in his hometown.
There you go.
So there's something, I guess.
Yeah, Smith Center's got a lot of football players that have gone through, and I'm trying to think of who I would say is the most famous. I think Mark Semino probably had the best longevity as far as making it to the NFL and playing there. So, oh boy, yeah, you start talking about Smith Center football, it's going to take a while to go through the list of people. I've been around here a long time and know a lot of them. Then my classmates had to play against them in high school too. That wasn't. And my cousins and relation there at Trigo, we had to play Smith Center, and boy, we were not looking forward to those games. It's funny you'd bring that up now because I got all the memories floating back into my mind about Smith Center football, because I remember my sophomore year of college. I think it was my sophomore year. Yeah, it had to have been. Sorry, I'm getting a text that I thought might be important for the show, but it was not. Oh. Anyway, so Smith Center, I was a sophomore in college at Colby, and I had to stick around on a Friday night in Colby because I had a game that I was calling on the college radio station. But the alma mater, Trigo, we were playing Smith Center, and I decided that first semester to come back and help at the grocery store in Waukegan because our produce manager was on maternity leave, and they kind of needed help for a night manager. And I said, hey, I can come back over the weekends and help out. And so there was not a night manager day that day. I just came back and helped out during the day. But I got there on Saturday morning, and the night before we had played Smith Center in football. And I walk in, and I'm like, well, this is before we had all the scoreboard shows, and I had access to listen to all that. I think they had a scoreboard show, but I was doing a game of my own, and so I didn't have time to research. We didn't have phones in our pockets with computers on them that we could just go look up the scores on the internet. And so I got back to work the next day, and I'm like, all right, guys, how bad Smith Center beat us last night? Like, how bad? Just, I don't need details. Just tell me the score. We won. What?
Excuse me?
28-6. What? It was one of the lone years that Smith Center had a down year. They were 4-5 that year, and Colby actually beat them that year too. Which Colby when I was there, was not a good football team.
Yeah,
and it was an anomaly. It was a weird year, and then Smith Center went on to start winning again, and then put together a record winning streak, and they turned it around pretty quickly. But it was I just remember that story. Smith Center popped into my mind about football, and I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. But man, over the years, it's been a blast to see Smith Center and cover them. And they've had Steve Tasker was born in Smith Center. He's one of the best special teams players to ever do it in the NFL, and so yeah, everybody's always asked me that, and we had a guy from Waukegan that. Wade and I were actually talking about this the other day, like who's the most famous person. I'm talking about this because Brady Pollin's the most famous person from Beloit right now. Yeah. No, we were talking about like who's the most famous person from Waukegan. There's some people listed that I had heard of, maybe in passing, but nobody that people would probably know. There's like a representative, and the guy that grew up in Waukegan that's now like a big representative in Canada in politics and stuff. But we had a guy. And people from Smith Center might know this name, and also from Osborne probably. They're in the same league. But we had a guy that went to college at Fort Hays and actually got picked up free agent signing with the Redskins. And I believe it was 2002. He made it all the way to the final cut, but didn't make it to the 53-man roster. Clay Scanlon was his name. He was at Fort Hays, and I think that his nephew played in the 8-man All-Star game last year, Owen Day from Trigo. And so Wade went up to him, and on the sideline, two Trigo grads talking to each other. I had the first Trigo sideline interview with Cole Felt from Trigo a couple years back, but last year, not this past summer, but the summer before that, Wade had Owen Day there, and he's like, okay, well, who's the best athlete in Trigo history? And he was hoping maybe that Owen would say himself, or maybe his teammate Gunnar Wilson that played in the game. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, dude, he's got a real easy one here. Just say my Uncle Clay, dude. Just say it out loud. He almost made it on the NFL roster with the Redskins. Yeah. That's all you got to just say it. And he fumbled around and couldn't think of anybody. And Wade's like, just say Dusty Dinas. I was like, dude, very, very low standards if you're saying Dusty Dinas. Man, I got a cousin that was toward the top of athletes at Trigo, but definitely was not me. So fun stories that we have when you kind of reminisce and think about people. And Brady Pollin, obviously, right now is a hot name from Beloit. And again, we wish him the best at the Olympic team trials here tonight.
Who knows? Maybe a little PR. get that 7'7" 3/4 mark.
Yeah, it'd be a heck of a PR, man. It would blow away anything that he's ever done. I can promise you that. So
he might be putting in work. You never know.
He's definitely putting in work.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about that. But it's tough to do. I've seen one of the most elite high jumpers in person, and that was Eric Kennard at K-State. And which by the way is about to get a gold medal from the 2012 Olympics in London because he got the silver, and the guy that beat him has been convicted of doping. And so he may have already gotten it, or it's coming up when they go to the Olympics. They'll redo that. And Eric Kennard from K-State back in 2012 when he got the silver is now set 12 years later to get a gold medal because Russia cheated. I remember he was on the David Letterman show, and he's like, this guy was just like trying to hype himself. This Russian guy was just like going crazy, getting ready for his jumps. And Dave Letterman's like, "What's up with this dude?" And Eric Kennard's like, he's Russian, dude. I don't know. I can't answer the question." But it was really cool to see a K-Stater do that. And now we got a Wichita State kid and a KU kid and a Nebraska kid from all three from small town Kansas going big tonight on the stage there at the Olympic trials. So best of luck really to all of them. But we hope that Brady does better than anybody tonight. So.
By the way, earlier you said London. They'd go to London. It was actually Paris.
I said London earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Maybe I had Eric Kennard on my mind. Yeah, the Olympics are in Paris this summer. So, yeah.
I feel bad for the swimmers that have to swim in the river that goes right through Paris. That's disgusting.
Yeah, did you see... I saw they're going to put just a gigantic pool in SoFi Stadium. I saw that when the Olympics come to Los Angeles. Yeah, that's wild, dude.
It's like that's what they did for the swimming trials here in the U.S. For the 2024 Olympics. Is they put a gigantic pool out in Lucas Oil.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy what you can do with the new stadiums and technology. You we'll just roll this out and let's put a pool in here.
Yeah, it's like just throw a pool in it.
Let's have some pool parties at these NFL stadiums. What are we doing, folks?
Shouldn't they put that in Jacksonville? Since Jacksonville already has a pool.
They got a pool back there already. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, best of luck again to Brady Pullen from St. John's, Beloit, and Wichita State competing tonight in the Olympic team trial. 7 o'clock, get the USA Network app for the individual events there. Again, as heard earlier, the Royals, after a slow start on offense, did catch a heater in the 8th inning and scored 5 runs in a 5-1 win over the Marlins at Kauffman Stadium Wednesday afternoon. This was a game that was not fun to watch until that inning came because, man, the Royals' offense has just been anemic at times here lately. And so, you're sitting there, they're down 1-0 going into the bottom of the 8th inning. There's 2 outs in the 8th inning, and you're like, we're going to lose a series to the Marlins. This is gross. Marlins were they were 27-50 coming into the series. And they won the first game, which was gross enough the way it was, or the Royals won the first game 4-1, but the Marlins won the second game 2-1 in a game that just was not going well at all for the Royals. They made a base running blunder that could have got them a run and maybe started an inning and got a rally going in the third, and that didn't happen, and so they lose 2-1 because they couldn't get the offense going the rest of the night. Wasted a great start from Seth Lugo, and to be completely honest, they wasted a great start yesterday from Brady Singer too, because he still got a no decision despite the fact they did win 5-1. Brady went 7 1/3, allowed just 5 hits, 1 earned run, just 1 walk as well. He struck out 5 on just 92 pitches. 7 1/3. Angel Serpa came in and finished it off as he pitched 2/3 and actually ended up getting the win because he was the pitcher on the mound in the end when the Royals had the 5-run 8th inning. Floodgates opened there in the 8th when again there were 2 outs and Bobby Witt Jr. I tell you, this guy can really just change the complexion of a game with one swing of the bat and change the confidence of his team with one swing of the bat and get everybody juiced up. He is one of the major reasons why the Royals have had success this year at 44-38. And it's just, I think one of the things that we've seen with the Royals in the past is that when they have success, a lot of this is contagious, and they feed off each other so well, that the successful teams the Royals have. And I think that's the case in baseball with any team. Yeah. You have to have chemistry in baseball to be a successful team. You can't have things breaking up your locker room or your clubhouse and dugout and things like that. And I think if you have the right energy and the right love for it and you're kind of exuding all that to your teammates. That's who Bobby Witt Jr. is. And there were 2 outs yesterday in the 8th, and he laced a triple to right. And, there was no question that where it went, he was going to be on his horse and get all the way around to third, and he did. And then right after that, Vinny Pasquantino gets a single to bring him home. And then Salvador Perez doubles and scored Dyron Blanco, who came in as a pinch runner for Pasquantino. Nick Lofton then singled to score Salvador Perez. MJ Melendez got a single. Hunter Renfroe walked, and then Freddie Fermin got a 2 RBI single to make it 5-1 before Michael Massey grounded out to end the inning, but the damage was done in a huge 8th inning to go up 5-1, all with 2 outs, getting all those runs. And then James MacArthur, for once, there were no fireworks or highlights or anything like that. He shut the door fast. A 1-2-3 9th inning to get the win 5-1 and get out of there with the series win 2-1 over the Marlins. Let's hear from Matt Quachero, the Royals manager, on that 8th inning and the Royals catching heat there.
2 outs, nobody on, right? And I don't know how many, 7 hits that, 6? Yeah, and just the quality of what they swung at, too. I mean, Brazoban came in, did a good job yesterday. Today, once we got the line moving a little bit, the guys put some really good swings on it. Lofton's at-bat was a great at-bat. Clearly, Salvi, giving us the lead. And so many things happened in that inning. Blanco, then taking the extra bases, going first to third to keep setting up runners in scoring position. I mean, like we've talked about, sometimes we're not going to come through, but we got to keep putting pressure on and keep putting ourselves in those positions.
Yeah, this still is a team that I appreciate their never give up attitude, and they, no matter how the game's going and how much they're struggling, they're not going to stop trying, and they're not going to give up and just say, well, we lost this game. We'll come back tomorrow and try to win the next one. And that's something you got to learn as you go on. And I think they actually started showing that toward the end of last year. Despite the fact that they had lost 106 games, but it's a team that already had started making kind of that progress of, okay, we're here for a reason, and we're not going to back down from anybody. And they got off to a great start this year. It's not been great over the last 15, 20 games as far as the record's concerned, but they're still in a very good position here and can work themselves right back into the playoffs without question here. So they're actually tied now for the final spot in the playoffs with the Red Sox. Actually, they're 1,000th of a percent behind percentage-wise. So the Red Sox would actually get the spot right now at 43-37, and the Royals are right behind them there. So but Baltimore's playing very well too, but they actually got back on the winning track because they were on a slide actually, but they're still 7 games up on the final wild card.
I'll give the Royals this from last night. Something good to see from that. While maybe the offense did not do anything until the 8th inning, at least the pitching allowed the offense to come back. Because
and the pitching's been there quite a bit recently.
I mean, I will, if that's something you don't see with the Royals much, especially really as recently, is our pitching actually giving the offense a chance to come back. And that's what's important, is pitching allowing for that offense to get hot at some point in the game. And heck, if we lost 1-0, would that suck? Yeah, but at least there's one thing good in that, and that's our pitching.
That's the problem with the Royals, though, is like when they're not good, it's like they can't get those two things to match up. Yeah. And when you get them to match up, obviously you win. Yeah. You win a lot of games. And so, Zach Greinke was the poster child for that. Like, allowing 0 to 2 runs and getting all these no decisions. And the year he won the Cy Young, he was 16-9, and he should have won 25 games probably. Yeah. And so it's really insane when you look at that. But I agree with you. I mean, pitching's been really good. They allowed 4 runs in the entire series against the Marlins, so which is great, and that's what you need to do against teams that are like the Marlins, like we talked about earlier this week. It's like, you're going to lose to some teams that are better than you, obviously, but you got to beat the teams that are not better than you and that are far worse than you. And so that's why the middle game of the series stings, when you are having struggles offensively and you get a situation where you got a runner on first and Bobby Witt Jr. lines him almost to the same spot that he did last night for the triple, or yesterday afternoon for the triple, but he puts it into right field, and Maikel Garcia is clearly not as fast as Bobby Witt Jr., and so he gets confused when he sees Bobby barreling around second and then starts running for home and gets caught in a pickle, and you don't get anything out of it, and that's a second out, and then right away you have a ground out that ends the inning. And so that's where you learn from the mistakes and you move forward from them. So again, offensively, it wasn't a great day for the Royals. It was a great inning. They did finish with 10 hits, 5 runs there, and ended up winning at 5-1. So That's the good news.
They'll get it.
The bad news for the Royals is the Guardians are coming to town, and they finally lost last night, I believe. Yeah, they did. They're 51-27, but prior to that, they had a 7-game winning streak, and they're hot. They've beaten the Mariners 2 out of 3. They swept the Blue Jays and then took 2 out of 3 from the Orioles on the road in Baltimore. I talked about them being on a little bit of a tailspin, but they did break that losing streak that they had yesterday by beating the Guardians. So Cleveland comes into the record 51-27. The Royals are 44-38, and so looking into this series, a 4-game set. So a rare situation there where a lot of times you have that breakaway day in between the Wednesday and Friday games. But Cleveland's coming into town tonight to start the 4-game series, and should be interesting to see if the Royals can get this offense going against a very good Cleveland team. Ben Lively starting tonight on the mound for Cleveland. He's 7-3, 3.03 ERA, and Michael Wacha is 4-6, the 4.07 ERA. Starting for the Royals, he's back from a rehab assignment. Michael Wacha making his first start. I got to check his game log when the last time he actually started a game in the majors was May 31st. So nearly about 3-week layoff here for Wacha with the injury that he suffered and a rehab assignment. And so he started on Saturday. I thought this was his first start back, to be completely honest with you. I was out of the loop over the weekend, man.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. They played not good against the Rangers.
That was also in Arlington, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's not a hitter-friendly park.
No.
Not hitter. That's not pitcher-friendly. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The 5 innings, but he only allowed 1 earned run. And, and then that's when the bullpen came in and it broke down.
Like usual.
Yeah. And so, he got the decision in that one, too. That's sad because it's a 6-0 loss, and he gave up 1 run on 3 hits.
Yeah, I don't know who.
That's stupid, insane when you lose a game like that on your record. 1 run, 3 hits. He only walked 1, struck out 5, pitched 5 innings. Oh yeah, take a loss on your record there, buddy. That's a way of showing how bad the Royals' offense has been at times lately. So Wacha is back for his second start. So he did have about a month off, and then came back June 22nd against Texas.
I'll tell you what, if he can hold the Guardians to 1 run like he did Texas, the Royals might have a chance.
They might. They will have a chance if the offense can get things going here tonight.
And if the bullpen does come in and ruin it.
Yeah, that exactly. Royals and Guardians tonight at 7:10 at Kauffman Stadium, starting a 4-game series. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we will look at the NBA draft, other NBA moves that have happened, and more on the Sports Ticket, brought to you by Kiever Brothers Automotive in Beloit.
I'm Elijah at Kiever Brothers Automotive in Beloit. Did you know that we sell tires? We also perform alignments and all the other services that go along with them. We handle all the top brands. Extras like road hazard warranty, complimentary tire rotations, and complimentary tire repairs are available for purchase on most tires. Right now, we are offering $80 off when you buy a set of 4. Call or stop by Kiever Brothers Automotive for fast, friendly tire services today. Find us just south of the courthouse in Beloit or on the web at KieverBrothers.com.
With the first pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Zachary Rizache from Lyon, France, and France's J.L. Boron-Bress.
Who? That's what I was saying yesterday. I didn't know how to say his name. Zachary Rizache. Hey, 2 years in a row that France has had the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Victor Wembanyama went to the Spurs last year, the number 1 pick, and was a unanimous clear Rookie of the Year this past season. But Rizache has to fight another Frenchman for the Rookie of the Year. At least one of them, maybe 2 of them, because France had 3 of the top 6 picks last night in the NBA draft. As Alex Sarr was the 2nd pick, he's been playing in Australia as well in their NBL, if I recall correctly. Rizache, and then Alex Sarr, France's 2nd pick by the Wizards. The Hornets took Tijani Salon with the 6th pick in the draft. So 3 out of the top 6 from France. Rounding out top 5 picks, the Rockets took guard Reed Shepherd of Kentucky at number 3. Spurs selected UConn guard Stephon Castle at number 4. And the Pistons picked small forward Ron Holland II from G League Ignite at number 5. So that's the top 5 picks. I want to get back here and I don't know why they do this when I click on something that should go to the list, and then it goes to just the whole NBA draft coverage. I just want the list of guys that were picked. Rounding out top 10, we told you about Salon from France going at number 6. UConn's Donovan Clingan was the number 7 picked by the Trailblazers. And then, so I'm a Spurs fan, and I think people probably know that if they listen to this show. This is the only show in Kansas that probably talks about the Spurs because I'm a Spurs fan. Stephon Castle was their pick at number 4. I talked yesterday about what I might like the Spurs to do, and Nikola Topic is how you say his name, is a guy that I was kind of looking at, and I saw his highlights, and I'm like, the Spurs need a point guard. Jeremy Sohan was playing point guard last year, and he's a power forward, and at times they put him at the point guard position. It was an experiment that did not work. Jeremy Sohan, I don't think, is the right fit anyway. I just don't. Where they picked him at number 9 in the draft when they did, I was not a fan of. I was not mad that they picked Jeremy Sohan to be on the team, but I did not like where they picked him. And he struggled last year because he was forced to play point guard at times. I want to see Jeremy Sohan actually get the right chance to play small power forward, whatever it might be, and see what he can do. But I knew this team needed a point guard, and I'd seen some highlights of this Topic from Serbia, and I'm like, man, he's long, he's lengthy, he can shoot from the outside, he's got range, he can drive, he can finish the bucket, and I was like, this is a guy that I really want.
Yeah.
What I forgot yesterday when I was talking about this is he suffered an injury not long ago and has a torn ACL and will likely miss this next season, and that's not something the Spurs can do. They don't have the luxury of, as they're trying to get this rebuild going a little bit quicker, to draft a point guard and have him sit. They need a point guard that's going to come play next year. Yep. And Stephon Castle is a guy that is also long, lengthy. Probably, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I would say likely not as good of a three-point shooter as Topic was. Yeah, just 27% from beyond the arc. It's actually listed as one of his weaknesses. So on the analysis from ESPN. So strengths, he's excellent size and length with building versatility on both ends of the floor, competitiveness and unselfishness, and obviously he was a key cog for UConn. He basically shut down Terrence Shannon in the NCAA tournament, and Shannon was also a first-round pick last night. So I was reserved and cool with the Spurs picking Stephon Castle. We'll tell you more about Zachary Risache here in a little bit, but the Spurs then they had the 8th pick too, and I'm like, well, this is wild to have your favorite team have two picks in the top 10.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, and there was guys that I was looking at, like I thought, this Matas Bazelis, who's actually part Lithuanian, but his dad came over and played in America in pros and ended up staying over here. And Matas actually grew up in Chicago and played a year at Wichita Sunrise with their elite group. And so we know him around Kansas. Some people do. He played at G League Ignite over the last year because he didn't want to go to college. He just decided, hey, put me in the G League. So I'm thinking Bazelis would be a good pick here because they wouldn't mind having probably another small forward and a guy like that could come in. And I was like, with the G League, 1 year of experience in the G League, his development's further along, even though he might not be as old as some of the guys that could be picked there. But he's already been in this G League, and I've tried to tell people for the last couple of years, the G League is not what you think it is anymore. It's a bunch of guys that are first-round picks that just simply aren't getting on rosters right away, and they're training down there. They're learning the game down there. And the talent level in the G League is the best it's ever been right now. I'll promise you that. When Marquise Noel's playing there, and then he can't even make it in the G League. It gets cut. Grady Dick's playing in the G League for the most of the year, to be honest with you, from KU and the Raptors. Yep. And Keontae Johnson's in the G League because there's too many people that are up and coming for the Thunder that he didn't fit in on their roster this year. So, the G League's a great place to actually develop and get yourself ready for the NBA. So I thought Bazelis might be a good pick. And then they went and picked a 6'1" guard. Like, you just drafted your guard in Castle. I'm like, are we going back to the days where the Spurs just stockpiled guards for no reason when they drafted Trey Jones and Derek White and all these guys back to back, DeJounte Murray, all these guards back every single year they were taking a guard, and I'm like, we need a big for crying out loud. Obviously they got the big they needed last year, but I was like, why are we taking Rob Dillingham, a 6'1" guard from Kentucky that's undersized? And that's obviously his weakness is what it would be looked upon right at 6'1". I'm not saying all small guards are weak, but that would be on his draft profile. The weakness is that he's only 6'1". He can finish at the bucket. He's not afraid to take big shots. And I'm watching all this in the Spurs draft, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't think this dude's going to be in San Antonio. I'm pretty sure they drafted this guy for somebody else, because I don't know why they would have taken another guard 4 picks later. And what do you know, like right after they showed the highlight package, wait, he's not going to San Antonio. He's been traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yep.
Rob Dillingham was the 8th pick going to the Timberwolves. So rounding out the top 10, and this was where I started scratching my head. I love this dude as a college basketball player. I don't think he's quick enough to stick with these NBA guys. Zach Edey was taken number 9 from Purdue by the Memphis Grizzlies, and based on the mock drafts that I saw and some of the things that I kind of have in my mind about watching him play, that's a reach, like a crazy reach to take Zach Edey in the top 10 if you're asking me. Again, I don't have the answers, but his weaknesses, though, improved dramatically in college. His speed will always be under the microscope defensively, and that's what I'm talking about. I don't think he can keep up with the bigs in the NBA. Now, the one thing that he does have, obviously, he's 7'4" and 300 pounds, so he's got that going for him. But this is not 1999.
No.
This is not Shaquille O'Neal coming into the league in 1992, I believe it was, and sitting here knowing that he's going to be a dominant force because of his size.
No.
This is not the way the NBA's played anymore. You know, one of the things that drove me nuts last year after Victor Wembanyama got drafted first, everybody's like, dude's going to need to bulk up. He's not going to be able to play that way in the NBA. Think about a guy that's 7'5", and think about if he bulks up. He gets slower automatically. Yep. That's just the way it's going to be. And so he constantly said, I don't think I need to bulk up. I do need to get stronger in areas.
Yeah.
But bulking up is not what I need. You don't need a 7'5" guy that can play on the perimeter to bulk up, because he's going to slow down. He's not going to be able to offer you what you want. And so I think that's the biggest concern that I have, and why I think this is a reach, because in today's NBA, centers are athletes. Mm-hmm. They're not big dudes like Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Shaquille O'Neal. I'm not saying Shaquille O'Neal wasn't an athlete. He was, especially when he first came into the league. But he continued to get bigger as he went on in his career. And obviously, I think from the athleticism standpoint of what he had with the Magic, and then going to the Lakers later on in his career, that slowed down a bit, and just rightfully so. With a body like that, you're not going to be able to sustain it and keep it fresh and healthy all the time. And that's the major concern that I have with Zach Edey. He's going to be able to alter shots at the rim in half-court sets and probably do some things in the post in that area, but it's not like Wembanyama. This is not the same dude at all. Wembanyama can run the floor and just creates some things and causes problems for teams. Not even with block. The dude averaged 4 block shots, and I saw a highlight clip yesterday of Christian Brown's on a fast break for the Nuggets, and he's coming down the left lane, and he sees Wembanyama on the side of his. He doesn't even try to go to the rim. He just dribbles it right out into the far corner. That people are not going to have to deal with that with Zach Edey, because they're going to be way past him. Zach Edey's not getting down the floor like Wembanyama would. So a lot of people thought the Spurs should maybe take Zach Edey, and I'm like, we don't need Twin Towers anymore. That's not the way the NBA is played. We don't need Tim Duncan and David Robinson on the same team anymore. That's not the way the NBA is going right now. You need athletic bigs, and you got that. And so Zach Edey, I don't feel is that, but obviously he has a wingspan of 9'7", so if they're in half-court sets and doing those things, he will be able to alter shots and cause some problems in that area. But I just don't see him making a major impact. Cody Williams of Colorado was the 10th pick in the draft. We talked about Matas Buzelis. He was the 11th pick and went to the Bulls, so he gets to stay home. He was from Chicago growing up, and you could see the emotion on his face, the fact that he gets to stay home. And then now you've got the 12th pick, and I think a lot of people around here care about this, because we do have Thunder fans around here. They're the closest in proximity to us, basically. The further north you get, maybe it's the Timberwolves. I don't know.
Maybe the
and
Nuggets.
Then to the west, obviously, it's the Nuggets, and then to the east, it's nobody.
Memphis
really probably is. Indianapolis Pacers.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know which is closer, to be completely honest with you, but I've been to Memphis. I've not driven to Indianapolis before. I've been to Memphis twice.
I've been inside the pyramid at Memphis. That their old.
Did you go to the Bass Pro Shop?
Yep.
Yeah. It's like you weren't in there when it was an actual arena.
No. I'm too young for that.
It is fun to see it. It's actually cool to see it at night when you're driving over the Mississippi there and you see the Bass Pro lit up in blue in the pyramid. Yeah. Anyway, so the Thunder actually do have the luxury of taking Nikola Topic, who is out for the season basically with an injury, because the Thunder have stockpiled loaded talent. They have so many draft picks that they've unloaded at times, but they still have a lot of first round picks in the next few drafts and the ability to trade some of those. So they were the number one team in the West this year and got the 12 picks. So they don't need a guy that's going to come in and produce for them right away. They've got a team that's good to go. And so they took Topic. It's an outstanding pick, because I think based on where he is and what happened to him with the injury, he falls because of the injury, and this turns into a steal for the Thunder for years to come, in my mind, based on what I've seen. I've only seen him play against foreign competition, highlights that I don't really know who those players are and how good the competition actually was. But this is, I think, a great pick for the Thunder at 12 in Nikola Topic.
For sure. The Thunder can risk him sitting for a year because they have SGA. They're shooting guard, and for the point guard, it's Josh Giddey, right?
Giddey got traded to the Bulls, so they got Alex Caruso's with the Thunder. I mean, they've got just a plethora of young talent. It obviously starts with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but they're set and they're young, and if they can continue to develop a guy like even Keontae Johnson that could come in and be on the NBA team next year possibly, that dude, I tell you, he's built for the NBA, and if he gets the chance, I think he's going to succeed. So that's really where I'm going to stop giving every pick, is at 12 with the Thunder. Dalton Knecht, who had the big NCAA tournament, he was picked 17th by the Lakers. LeBron James actually had some good things to say about Knecht during the NCAA tournament. So he's got a guy that he likes if he decides to sign that 3-year contract. It sounds like he's going to opt out of the $54 million or $52.4, whatever it is, that the 1-year deal, and he's got a 3-year max that'll be offered. So that's not going to be signed until we find out what happens tonight for sure, and then they'll go on with that. So that's a notable pick there. And then Baylor had 2 guys picked, Jacoby Walter at 19 to Toronto, and Yves Missy, I don't remember how to say his name. He was 21st pick by the Pelicans from Baylor as well. It's funny when you're looking at all these drafts, and so a lot of times you'll see like a country next to the guy that was picked because he hasn't played, he didn't go to college or anything like that. It's really funny when you're looking and you see a dude drafted and it says A.J. Johnson, United States. It's like, well, where did it? Well, he was in the NBL over in Australia, so he didn't go to college, and he's not coming out of high school or the G League, so it's just USA. It's not. They're not saying what team he played for in the National Basketball League over in Australia, and so I was like, where did this come from? Oh, he was in the NBL, so he's over now and drafted by the Bucks at 23. So we're going here and continue rolling. Terrence Shannon played at Texas Tech. He was at Illinois last year. He was a 27th pick by the Timberwolves. You're rolling through. You're like, this is where we turn into the other part of the discussion about the NBA draft. What I said yesterday about Johnny Furphy, just delete it. Erase all that. Just act like I'm going to be like Mike Strand, our former news director. Oh, delete that. I didn't say that. What are you talking about? I didn't say Johnny Furphy made the right decision by not going back to Kansas. I didn't say that out loud. You're confused. That's not what I said.
Never happened.
Okay, that's what I said, because everybody and their dog said that he was going to be a first-round pick. I like the expression, so I'll use it. And he was not. We made it all the way to the 30th pick, where the NBA champion Boston Celtics were on the clock, and they took shooting guard Baylor Shireman from Creighton, and instead of the small forward Johnny Furphy from Kansas, and that wrapped up the first round. And Johnny Furphy is at the draft in attendance with Bill Self, and KU basketball tweets out, before the draft starts, whatever showtime, it's tonight's the night, and or whatever. I don't know what the tweet said, but I can find it. But it's like, yikes, that didn't go as planned at all.
Nope.
And so now, everything I said yesterday about the fact that it makes sense for Johnny Furphy to keep his name in the draft because he's going to be a first-round pick. Stage ready with a camera is what it said for Johnny Furphy next to Bill Self last night on the picture. And that got shared with a couple of yikes emojis. Yikes face, right? And that did not go well at all for Johnny Furphy, because he was not picked last night, and now he goes into the second round where he's not guaranteed any money at all. He is a second-round draft pick. If he makes the team, he'll get that NBA contract. If he does not make the team, he won't. If he's there and gets the two-way contract, he'll make some money based on that and be able to play in the G League and develop there, which I think Johnny Furphy's a G League developmental player no matter if he would have been picked in the first round 100%. Or the second round. I don't think there's a question that Johnny Furphy's not going to be a key factor on an NBA team the moment he steps onto the court as a rookie. And so he averaged 9 points a game last year, like 4 rebounds, and like everybody's like, he needs more time to develop. He needs help. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but he's in a draft that supposedly was supposed to be weaker than normal. And all of his guidance said, you'll be a first-round pick. And his guidance early in this process said, you'll probably be a lottery pick. And those things fell back to I looked at like 3 mock drafts yesterday. The lowest he was at was 20 on those mock drafts. He continuously was the best player available on the bottom line there on ESPN after like 18 picks. It was like Johnny Furphy, Johnny Furphy, Johnny Furphy. Hey, why is nobody taking this guy? And it was kind of confusing because, again, all the mock drafts and all the hype and pub about Johnny Furphy was he is a first-round pick because this class is not the greatest. I don't know where the miscommunication happened as far as saying he was going to be a first-round pick, but it backfired. And I'm not going to say that he made the wrong decision because nobody knows that yet. He very well could get drafted in the second round tonight and very well could make an NBA roster next year. And this is all, as Joey says on Friends, a moo point. A cow's opinion doesn't mean anything. Moot point is actually the saying, but it's always fun to bring up a Friends reference. And so this is just a situation where the guidance was there, but it wasn't the right guidance. And now he's navigating and probably trying to figure out in his head what's next because, I'm not going to make a lot of money probably, and I could have stayed at Kansas. And again, that I talked about yesterday, he's not, for some reason, he's not eligible for NIL money. And so that's not going to help him out. Mm-hmm. But even so, if you can make it work for one more year on your free scholarship to play basketball at Kansas and your free education and learn from Bill Self and do that, then maybe you're in a better spot. But again, like I said, the G League is not what it used to be. The G League is prime development area for these type of guys that want to get good enough to play in the NBA. So I don't know. You got the KU shirt on, so I know you're a fan. What do you think about Johnny Furphy and the decision that he made and then now where he's at going into the second round tonight?
I'm going to start with this. First of all, you need the Jedi mind trick. I did not say that.
Yeah.
But I think you're at Kansas. Why is everything so centered around money now? That's the first point I'm going to make. Should you not be more worried about one? If you stay at Kansas, you're learning under Bill Self and some of the best players you'll ever meet.
But I do want to stop you because it's not just now that we're worried about money.
But okay, yeah. But
in the history of KU basketball, that's why dudes are leaving early.
But it's become such a bigger thing in.
It has become
now.
A bigger thing. I agree with
NIL.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Think about this first. Back in the day, in theory, of course, there were like under the table payments that happened. May or may not happened.
Quotes.
But still, your payment was free education. You got to go to school and party it up and have a free education. And the only thing you had to do was play basketball in a place where you could develop and learn and do all these things. And now it's about, well, I'm not going to get $5 million from Cheez-It, so I'm going to go to the NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever. So here's my opinion. He should have stayed at Kansas for the simple reason. You are learning under Bill Self and in one of the best college basketball programs, the original college basketball program, might point out. And why would you not want to sit there and learn, develop, and maybe in 3-4 years, however many years it'd be until he's a senior, you could be, heck, maybe the number 1 overall pick instead of now being a second rounder. I mean, I get it was a weaker class, but that still doesn't mean that you go now. That's rushing things, and it just does not work, and it's not going to work. He should have stayed at Kansas because he barely got playing time this year. The Kansas bench sucked. Why do you think they were so bad? Why do you think they had it down here? It's because they had no depth.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Well, and your take is like a lot of KU fans' takes, right? But the reality of it is he was told he'd be a first round pick, and so when you have that, I always like. By the way, KU's not the original college basketball program. I just do want to point that out. Just because James Naismith invented the game, it wasn't in Kansas; it was in Canada. No, I just had to give him some flack there. And also, Johnny Furphy don't care about James Naismith, to be completely honest with you. Geneva College and Vanderbilt University both claim to be the first ever college teams. They played the first ever game in 1893. Minnesota A&M played in 1895. No, I'm just giving you some flack there.
Our coach stole invented the game, so
he did, but he invented it in Canada.
Stupid Canadian.
I don't listen. You don't want to get me started on those rules of basketball being home because that was just a money grab. I guess they're home, but they're not really home. Anyway, I digress on that part of it. I don't want to get into a discussion that I make KU fans mad. That's not my goal today. But I completely understand what you're saying because a lot of KU fans have that same take. But in all reality, Bob Huggins had a quote once that he's like, "What are we here for? We're not here for these kids to graduate or whatever. You know, it's great if they do. It's like we're here to get these guys jobs. That's what college is for, right? Like you go to college to get a job in the future and." If I went 1 or 2 years, I went to college, I got a job. And Johnny Furphy went to college, he's got a job. He's going to get picked tonight in the second round. If he makes it 30 more picks without being taken tonight, actually there's only 28 picks tonight. But if this afternoon, actually, it starts at 3 o'clock. And it's so weird. Like, when are we doing a 2-day draft? And then you're going to start the second round at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. It seems very, very weird to me. But hey, I'll figure out who Johnny Furphy's going to by my 5 o'clock sportscast, and we can update that. But it is a very common consensus among fans that do believe that Kansas is where you should develop. But again, we are in a different world today of. I get that Bill Self is one of the best coaches of all time. He's running one of the best programs of all time, and I understand that. But the guys that are on his team, especially last year, that was not a team full of NBA dudes. And the G League is. Those are teams that are full of guys that are primed and almost ready for the NBA. And Hunter Dickinson's not that, by the way. Mm-hmm. There's a reason he did not go to the draft this year. He's not an NBA player. And so Kevin McCullough, obviously not where these guys were at because he's not been drafted and may not be drafted today. We'll see if he gets drafted late or if he doesn't get drafted at all. Those are the two best players for KU without question last year. KJ Adams, I don't think he's an NBA ready guy right now.
No.
You know, and maybe he'll develop and become something, but that's the problem with the team that I think that's a real big problem. The team that Johnny Furphy played on last year was not a really good Bill Self team. It was for a Bill Self team, middle of the road, average team. Mm-hmm. They didn't win a Big 12 championship. And so that's, I think, the biggest problem with what you're saying in this exact year, right? Is that Johnny Furphy was on a team that did not have the dudes, like Jerome Tang would like to say, that did not have the NBA caliber players on it, and how's he going to get better going against that when he can actually go against guys that are ready for the NBA and probably play in the G League? Again, like I said, he was expected to be a first-round draft pick by everybody. And so he makes that decision based on that. Now today, as we get ready for the second round, we're in that hindsight 2020 game. Yeah. We really are. Because if anybody says that they didn't expect Johnny Furphy to get drafted last night, I don't know anybody that said he would not be a first round pick. Even just people that don't even follow it or the people that really follow it. But also, I will say that's why you never trust a mock draft.
Yeah.
Or what people are saying. You got to wait until it actually happens.
The teams don't follow the mock drafts. They don't care what
he says. They have their own scouts. They don't care what Joe Blow from CNN or Sports Illustrated or Fox News or Fox Sports or CBS Sports said about it.
I mean, if these professional teams did care, the Falcons would not have taken a quarterback after paying Kirk Cousins millions of dollars to come down there to Atlanta. Yeah. So, which that's still stupid, by the way. But I digress.
I don't think it's stupid to make the pick. It was pretty stupid of them not to let them know they were making the pick.
But my point is, I'm actually going to use what you said. That KU team was not NBA caliber, and that's my point. He is not NBA ready.
How does he learn to be NBA ready if he's not on a team that's NBA caliber?
But he's going to be starting next year, most likely, I would assume. Or at least he's going to be getting playing time. He's going to be still playing against some of the best talents in college basketball. And if it's not in the Big 12, it's going to be in the March Madness tournament, or it's in the preseason tournament like down Maui or whatever. He's still going to be playing against the best college basketball teams, against players who are NBA ready. And so I still think that maybe being in college is the best place to get developed, because you still have to make the G League roster. That's something to consider here. And if what you're saying is true about the G League being better, who says he's going to make that roster?
If he's a early second round pick, he'll be on the G League roster.
Maybe not.
He should be. The teams aren't doing what they're supposed to do if he's not.
It also depends who takes him.
Yeah.
And who says he's going to get picked?
He'll be picked. He's not going 28 more. 28 more teams are not passing him in this draft.
Weird things have happened.
We're talking more about Kevin McCullough on that end of the spectrum. Johnny Furphy will be picked very early today. I would guess it'll be within the first 4 picks of the draft today, of the second round. I'll be surprised if it's not. I have not looked at the list here, and I need to pull that up and see who's picking, and what maybe their needs are. The Raptors are picking first today at 3:00, and then the Jazz, Bucks, Portland, and then the Spurs. And I don't think the Spurs are going to take them because, again, they're in a spot where they would like to have guys that maybe could be ready to play in the NBA. And not necessarily put him up. I will tell you this, though. If the Spurs do take him at 35, he'll be on their G League roster. These guys that the Spurs taken from even like the 25 to 40 range absolutely always end up on the G League roster. And so, yeah, Johnny Furphy will be drafted early today. I listen, if he's not, make me do something. We'll work it out off the air here. He'd definitely be drafted. There's no question about that. So Kevin McCullough Jr. is where we'll go next, because he's not been drafted yet. And then that is, there's what are your thoughts about just Kevin McCullough Jr. Just real quick?
I think he's a good, solid player. I think one of his main issues I saw, especially at Kansas and especially this last year, is injury. He's injury prone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of his main problems, and that's going to come back to bite him, especially if he does somehow make an NBA team. I think he has the potential to be an NBA player if he can stay healthy and develop down the G League, but I don't know. I think there's a lot there that we just don't know.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I saw a KU fan on Twitter last night who's not a real KU fan, because he made this comment that said he can't play in the NBA because he basically quit on his team in the end and didn't want to play. And it's like, you got that vibe in the press conference from Bill Self, but it's like, or it wasn't actually a press conference, but it was a meeting with the press outside of the gym or the arena that they were at. And you got that vibe that that's the way Bill Self felt for a bit. Yeah. And then he had to backtrack and say some like BS thing that he tweeted out, like, nah, I have nothing against Kevin. We're good. Everything's fine. And we're just frustrated with the way the tournament ended, blah, blah, blah. And so, but I mean, if you're actually putting that out there and you say that, I mean, it's like, how much of a KU fan are you? You just want everything to work in your favor, and you don't care about anybody else.
I will admit, when it first happened, I was pretty ticked off.
Yeah, I think every KU fan was when it first happened.
When looking back at it, it is what it is. You move on, life goes on.
Yeah.
And of course, we all knew he was going to look out, and college players getting ready for the NBA draft or NFL draft or wherever are going to do that no matter what. They're going to look out for themselves to have a chance at making a roster on a professional team. Because what's the point, and especially on this team at KU that we knew was not going to make it far into the tournament this year? They just weren't.
Especially when he said he wasn't playing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's my point. What's the point of going out there and possibly re-injuring yourself, re-aggravating that injury when it's almost for nothing?
Yeah,
I mean,
you try to get to the NBA too, and you want to, like, if you want to have the career that you're hoping to have, you got to take the chance and probably sit out and make sure you're not getting hurt worse before combines or workouts, tryouts, meetings with the other teams. So, I'm gonna say Kevin McCullough will get drafted today.
It'll be in the later rounds.
But it'll be 53 to 58. Like, it'll be one of the last 5 or 6 picks.
So I'd like him.
I think Bronny James is going to be one of the last 5 or 6 picks as well. I have to bring him up because that's going to be interesting to see what happens with LeBron moving forward, free agency, and all that. And so, yeah, draft night 1 is. You can find the whole list of draft picks in the draft order for today at NBA.com.
I'll tell you this much: It's not going to happen, but I would love to see Kevin McCullough go to the Timberwolves. That's just me. That's also because I'm a Timberwolves fan. So, yeah. Just me.
Yeah.
Not going to happen, though. No, it's not going to happen. But
he's not going to be the 37th pick.
So I would love it.
I think that's their only. I think that's the only pick they have.
Yeah. Like I said, it would be cool, but it's not.
Johnny Furphy might go to the Timberwolves. I still feel like he'll be picked before that, but.
Honestly, he'll probably.
There's a possibility that he could drop to 37.
He'll probably go to the Jazz. Honestly.
Yeah.
Toronto, I don't know what Toronto's going to do. But
yeah, I don't know how this will all play out. But and then there's still Kyle Filipowski, by the way, who's not been drafted from Duke, and he was there last night and had to leave without finding a new team. So they're talking about the Raptors who are on the clock. So they have this thing right here: best available is Johnny Furphy, and it'll stay that way until he gets picked. Ranked 18th overall by ESPN. And their scouts, and Filipowski's 21, but they say Filipowski actually would be the better fit for the Raptors here at 31, the first pick of the second round. So we'll see. It starts at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Watch it on ESPN if you want. If you can't get away from work, I guess you'll find out when you're done with work where Johnny Furphy went, or sneak a peek at the ESPN app.
Yep. Are we going to talk about Bronny James, or has that been drove in the ground enough?
I'm not going to talk about Bronny James. I'm just going to say that he'll get drafted by somebody here in the late round, late second round, maybe mid second round if somebody's crazy enough to take a flyer and pick him earlier than that. But Bronny James will be drafted. I'm pretty confident of that today.
I could see this happening. I could see the Clippers taking him, and that would be the funniest thing ever if he goes to the other LA team that his father's not on.
Yeah.
That and also the Clippers are that would just be hysterical because the Clippers are the Clippers and they will do something stupid. And I still am convinced Bronny James is not ready for the NBA in any way. Now, maybe for the G League?
Well,
maybe.
And Bronny James is a guy that doesn't have to be ready for anything. The dude's set for life no matter what decision he decides to make.
Because of his last name.
Yeah, exactly. The money's flowing in, and I'm pretty sure LeBron has been pretty good with his money and his endorsements and all that stuff to set up all of his kids. And his brother actually is better than him coming up. But Bronny's, he'll be outside of a publicity stunt on opening night of the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be on a G League roster. Like, he's not... I don't think he's going to see any kind of significant minutes for at least 2 or 3 years in the NBA.
And honestly, I think...
he's got to develop. And obviously, he's got a heart problem, too, that he had to deal with at the start of this season. Mm-hmm. He didn't play the whole year with USC either. So, sometimes maybe cut him some slack. You got to understand that, too. But the machine is driving the Bronny James hype. It's not... No. It's not anything about what his game is. And so, I think he'll get picked by somebody. Spurs, by the way, with their trade, I just want to move on from Bronny James.
That's fine. No.
The Spurs have agreed to send Rob Dillingham, as we said, with the number 8 pick to the Timberwolves. The Spurs got a future draft pick stashed by acquiring 2031 unprotected first-round pick and a 2030 top 1 protected pick swap from the Timberwolves. I'm like, well, this 7 years later is where you're going to get your first actual pick, but 2030 or whatever, it'll be a pick swap. And so we'll see. Hopefully the Spurs are better than the Timberwolves in 2030 and we swap and get a better pick. But there was a joke last night on Twitter about, I wanted to make a joke about how the Spurs are just planning for the future, waiting 6 and 7 years. And he's like, I can't make that joke, though, because they're so well run, they actually are planning for the future. And so
not the worst thing in the world.
They get some more draft capital. They have so many draft picks in the next 10, 11 years. It's insane. Almost as many as the Thunder have. So, so there we go with that. There were a couple of moves made in the NBA yesterday with contracts. These can't be signed until the free agency begins after the 1st of July, but they're agreed upon. Free agent forward OG Anunoby is expected to stay with the Knicks 5 years, $212.5 million. This guy averaged less than 15 points a game and 4 rebounds last year, and he's getting a 5-year, $212.5 million contract. The contracts are wild. The things that people will pay for nowadays, just crazy to me. Yeah. Bam Adebayo also got a 3-year, $166 million extension with the Heat. Averaged a double-double last. Makes sense for Bam Adebayo. 19.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, almost 4 assists a game, so he can dish too as a power forward and center, wherever they put him at with Miami, and he can do a lot of different things. He's had a lot of success. Bam Adebayo, I completely understand why he gets a 3-year, $166 million extension. Anunoby, honestly, I can't even tell you much about the guy. I don't watch a lot of NBA right now. When your team's not good, this is much like baseball with the Royals. When your team's not good, you kind of fall away, and you don't really watch until the end of it, where you playoffs, and especially in the finals. It's a rare occasion that I'll miss an NBA Finals game. Like, I'll watch pretty much every one of those. Now, World Series, I can honestly say I'll turn on like in the 7th inning, and I feel like I'm content sometimes. But the NBA Finals, for some reason, I've just always watched those and wanted to see how things were going. I've been interested in them. The last 2 years, I was interested in them because I knew, and most people knew, who the best team was in the NBA both of the last 2 years, but people just wanted to say things just to make it not so obvious and act like, oh, maybe this team has a chance to win something. And it's like, okay, if these teams are healthy, playing at their top level, the Nuggets last season and the Celtics this season, pretty obvious who the best teams in the NBA were. And it proved to be true in both cases. So, NBA making off-season moves. Interested to see what the trades are going to look like coming up after the 1st of July, too.
It will be
already have one that we mentioned earlier with Caruso going to Oklahoma City for Josh Giddey to the Bulls. Giddey said he wasn't interested in coming off the bench this early in his career. He wanted to be a starter, and it's like, potentially was not going to be that in Oklahoma City. So he kind of like James Harden back when he was in Oklahoma City. Like, I'm a 6th man on this team. Take me somewhere else. He goes to Houston, and then he became the dude, but he's never won anything as the dude. That's for darn sure.
And he probably won't at this stage in his career.
Not likely.
Unless he's like the last man on a NBA championship winning roster.
He's got to change his mentality all the way if he wants to win a championship at this point, because it's not going to work the way he thinks at the moment.
Nope.
Sports Ticket today brought to you by Kiever Brothers Automotive in Belen. Let me make sure there's nothing new that's come out since we've been talking here for a bit. Doesn't appear to be. Yeah, there we go. That'll do it. Sports Ticket today, brought to you by Kiever Brothers Automotive in Beloit. Have a great day, everybody.
State, regional, and national sports talk on your schedule. The Sports Ticket Podcast. Subscribe via Apple, Google, and TuneIn Podcasts or sunflowerstateradio.com.